Hi everyone, my name is Kat and I'm the Legislative Director for Representative Chrissy Houlihan. For today's episode of Inside Congress, I wanted to give you a closer look at the National Defense Authorization Act, or the NDAA, which is the process for authorizing funds and policies for defense-related activities. Our total defense spending is 12% of government spending, which is a very significant proportion. Chrissy, of course, believes that we should continue to support our military and that this funding helps keep us safe and helps make the world a safer place. However, we still have to carefully look over this budget every year and make sure that our spending and the policies of the Defense Department are effective and necessary. It's also important that we are transparent in how our defense budget is made and what goes into it. The first thing to note is that there are two annual bills that control our defense budget, the NDAA and the Defense Appropriations Bill. The NDAA doesn't actually allocate any funding. It just authorizes programs and funding levels. The appropriations bills are what actually approve the funding that the NDAA has authorized. You can think of it like the NDAA creating a grocery list, deciding what we need and don't need and what our budget is, bringing it all to checkout, and the appropriations bill is when we actually swipe the card and pay for everything, which may in fact end up being less than what we had on our original list. The two bills then go through different processes, and sometimes the appropriators may not fully fund projects that the NDAA has authorized. However, the NDAA sets a cap on defense spending for the year, since appropriators can't legally allocate funds for something that hasn't been authorized in the NDAA. The bills also go through different committees. The Defense Appropriations Bill goes through the Appropriations Committee, while the NDAA goes through the House and Senate Armed Services Committees. This is because all bills related to our common defense must go through this committee under the rules of Congress. So spending on our common defense can't be decided just through appropriations. While Chrissy votes on both bills, she serves on the Armed Services Committee, so she is very involved with crafting the NDAA. Though much of the NDAA is focused on funding, there are also significant policy changes within the bill. For example, last year, Chrissy was able to get 31 provisions in the bill that was signed into law. These included authorizing more research into creating domestic critical mineral supply chains to reduce our reliance on China, and reports on federal employee use of paid leave, which is helpful as we continue efforts on our bipartisan paid leave working group. In the previous year, we were also able to expand paid family leave for our service members to 12 weeks. Some of these require authorizing new funds, but they can also use existing budgets by moving funds from one program to another as we reassess what the needs of our country and military are each year. The NDAA is also the only bill that Congress has passed every year on a bipartisan basis for the last 62 years, and shows how we can work together and make real strides for Americans. Because the bill is so large, the Armed Services Committee splits it up and considers different pieces in the various subcommittees. For example, Chrissy sits on the Military Personnel Subcommittee, so things like paid leave and nutrition for service members would go through there. This process of reviewing legislation and voting on changes is called the markup. Once all the subcommittees have finished their markups, the entire committee will come together for a markup on the consolidated bill. This process gives everyone on committee a chance to weigh in, even if a certain provision is not specifically covered by their subcommittee. It also ensures that we are not just rubber stamping the budget, and that there are multiple sets of ayes and votes on the policy and funding changes. Finally, the bill goes to the House floor for every member of the House of Representatives to amend and approve. The Senate also has a similar and separate process, and ultimately, Congress can only vote to pass one bill. Normally, there will be a conference committee with members from both the Senate and House Armed Services Committees, which will get together after both chambers have approved their versions and negotiated the differences between the two bills. Once they finish this work, The final bill is put on the floor of the House and Senate to be voted on by all of Congress. We are currently in the middle of this process, so you may see news about the hearings on the budget for the coming year. Hopefully, this explainer makes the process a little bit clearer. If you have questions about the NDAA, about our military budget, or anything else, please don't hesitate to give our office a call.